Welcome to the biggest stories dominating the world of tennis. We kick things off right now with CoCo Vandeweghe weighing in on the intense debate surrounding Alexander Zverev. Vandeweghe is not sold on Zverev, claiming he's on par with the elite, and she lays out exactly why she thinks he's missing the critical ingredient for Hall of Fame status. We dive deep into what CoCo Vandeweghe believes is the single defining factor separating Alexander Zverev from the true legends of the sport, and why that missing piece is so crucial for his legacy.
Here's a simple way to protect your phone without stress. This ALEN 3-pack comes with tempered glass screen protectors, camera lens protectors, and an installation frame for an easier, cleaner fit. It's clear, case-friendly, and built to help guard against scratches and everyday bumps. Check the link in the comments to get it on Amazon.
Next up, we look at Alexander Zverev's own perspective on the hierarchy of the top players. Zverev recently stated that there are clear tiers at the top of men's tennis, drawing a distinction between Jannik Sinner and the rest of the field, and between Carlos Alcaraz, himself, and Novak Djokovic. We explore Zverev's argument about the current gaps in the rankings and whether his assessment of the competitive landscape is accurate in this fiercely competitive era. Now, we shift focus to Jannik Sinner as he gears up for the Italian Open. Sinner is on the verge of a massive milestone, aiming to become the first man to secure 6 consecutive Masters 1000 titles. We hear Sinner speak about the immense impact Carlos Alcaraz has on the sport and his own mental approach to competing at the highest levels, even as Alcaraz is sidelined with an injury. Find out what Sinner is focusing on as he prepares to deliver a historic performance. And finally, we get an expert take on the current dynamic between Sinner and Alcaraz. Patrick Mouratoglou, former coach of Serena Williams, breaks down why he sees Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz as being in a league of their own right now, arguing that the perceived hierarchy is shifting rapidly. We look at Mouratoglou's analysis of the current tennis landscape and what this means for the future of the sport. Stay with us, because the action doesn't stop here. Alexander Zverev's assertion that he is on par with Carlos Alcaraz and Novak Djokovic following his loss to Jannik Sinner in the Madrid Open final has drawn a sharp rebuttal from CoCo Vandeweghe. Speaking on the Big T podcast, Vandeweghe firmly disagreed with Zverev's comparison, arguing that he lacks a crucial element, a Grand Slam title. Vandeweghe stated that Zverev is not in the same competitive conversation as Sinner, Alcaraz, or Djokovic because he is not a Grand Slam winner. She emphasized that while Zverev has been close and ranked highly, the absence of a major title is what separates contenders from Hall of Famers. Sasha is not in the same conversation as Jannik, Carlos, or Novak because of the one thing that he's missing, a Grand Slam, Vandeweghe explained. She drew a parallel, noting that players like Marcelo Rios, who were world number ones but lacked a Grand Slam, would not achieve Hall of Fame status. Vandeweghe stressed that it is unfair to the accomplishments of the top players if Zverev believes he belongs in that category, asserting that he exists in a completely separate tier. However, Vandeweghe did acknowledge Zverev's standing among current contenders, noting that he frequently features in discussions about players who have not yet won a Grand Slam. Zverev has reached 3 finals, but has yet to secure a trophy, including losses in 2020 and a 5-set defeat to Alcaraz at Roland Garros 4 years ago, and a straight-set loss to Sinner most recently. The focus now shifts to the upcoming French Open, starting May 24th, where observers will be watching to see if Zverev can recapture his form and challenge for that coveted major title. Alexander Zverev has faced scrutiny regarding his standing among elite players following comments from former world number 9 CoCo Vandeweghe, who questioned his place alongside Novak Djokovic and Carlos Alcaraz. The debate surfaces amid a men's tour increasingly dominated by a few top names, notably Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz, who have demonstrated remarkable form. Zverev recently suffered a decisive 6-1, 6-2 loss to Sinner in the Madrid Open final, highlighting a significant gap in performance. Despite this, Zverev asserted that clear tiers exist at the top of men's tennis, stating there is a significant gap between Sinner and the rest of the field, and another gap between Sinner, Alcaraz, and Djokovic. This statement followed Sinner achieving a historic run of 5 consecutive Masters 1000 titles. Vandeweghe strongly refuted Zverev's assessment, arguing that Zverev has not yet earned parity with Grand Slam champions. She contended that Zverev lacks a Grand Slam title, which she believes is the defining factor separating him from players like Sinner, Alcaraz, and Djokovic in terms of Hall of Fame potential. Vandeweghe suggested that Zverev belongs in a separate category. The disparity is underscored by Alcaraz and Sinner's dominance, having won all 9 Grand Slam titles contested in the last 2 years and maintaining a substantial ranking point lead over Zverev. While Zverev shows consistency at the Masters 1000 level, he has yet to secure a major title. Vandeweghe acknowledged Zverev's potential, suggesting he could be ranked 3rd among contenders if all players are healthy, though she stressed that Djokovic remains a formidable presence. The discussion highlights the intense competitive landscape and the high expectations placed on players striving for the very pinnacle of the sport. Jannik Sinner is gearing up for a significant opportunity at the Italian Open in Rome, aiming to secure a historic 6 consecutive Masters 1000 title. The focus is sharp as Sinner returns to his home crowd, motivated by his previous runner-up finish in last year's final. However, the draw is complicated by the absence of his rival, Carlos Alcaraz, who is sidelined with an injury. Despite this, Sinner expressed continued high regard for Alcaraz, acknowledging the impact the Spaniard has on the sport, and stated it is a shame he will miss the chance to compete against him on his path to a potential title. Sinner emphasized his own consistency, stating, "I try to stay mentally focused on every single point and give my maximum all the time. Whether you're world no. 1 or no. 2 doesn't change much, because every match starts from 0 and everything is decided on the court." While Alcaraz focuses on his recovery, the situation highlights the fragility of top-level careers, referencing past incidents involving players like Juan Martín del Potro and Dominic Thiem. Experts suggest that other players, notably Novak Djokovic, could gain an advantage following their recent encounter in Melbourne, as Alcaraz's camp is prioritizing careful management of wrist injuries. Alcaraz remains a rising star, and his long-term absence is viewed as a considerable loss for both him and the sport. Current projections suggest Alcaraz might return as early as Queens, though Wimbledon is currently seen as the more realistic target for his comeback. The tennis landscape is buzzing with shifting perceptions regarding the rankings and relative standing of top players, following recent commentary from Alexander Zverev. Zverev's comments suggesting a clear gap between Jannik Sinner and the rest of the top 4, while simultaneously noting a separation between himself and Carlos Alcaraz compared to Novak Djokovic, have sparked debate. Responding to this dynamic, Patrick Mouratoglou, former coach of Serena Williams, has weighed in, asserting that Sinner and Alcaraz currently occupy a peer group among the elite. Posting on Instagram, Mouratoglou stated, "Alcaraz, Sinner, Djokovic, Zverev, and the rest of the world. After the Australian Open, everybody was saying, okay, Alcaraz is above Jannik. And now everybody says Sinner is above Alcaraz. No, they are at the same level. I know in tennis, things change very fast." Mouratoglou further elaborated on the current hierarchy, noting that while Zverev might be closer to Sinner due to Alcaraz's injury, the fundamental situation remains unchanged. He emphasized that while Zverev is undeniably strong, he cannot be placed in the same category as Alcaraz. "You cannot do that. The gap between Zverev and Novak and Alcaraz and Sinner is big." This evolving narrative is set against the backdrop of Zverev's impressive recent run, particularly in Masters 1000 events. The 29-year-old has demonstrated significant form, reaching semifinals at every major tournament in 2026, including the Australian Open, where he narrowly missed out on defeating Alcaraz. Following an early exit in Acapulco, Zverev secured 3 consecutive semifinals in Indian Wells, Miami, and Monte Carlo, each time losing to Sinner. He also reached the semifinals in Munich before securing his first season final at the Madrid Open, though Sinner proved too strong in that encounter. Zverev's career highlights include a 2025 Munich Open title and a recent Masters crown in Paris during the 2024 season.